Welcome, and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Austin Bonner, the Deputy U.S. CTO for Policy at the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. Ms. Bonner, thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Jory.
And it's been an interesting couple of months since the administration had this AI executive order come out. It's a lot going on, 100 plus pages. The thing on my mind here is just what are some of the most urgent next steps to implement the administration's executive order on AI?
Well, you're right that the executive order is a big deal and comprehensive. It builds on a lot of work this administration has been doing from day one, things like the Bill of Rights on artificial intelligence, company commitments from 15 American technology companies who've made voluntary commitments to safe, secure, and trustworthy AI before releasing it to the public. And now I think the EO really is sort of the most significant action any government has taken on artificial intelligence. The president's told us to pull every lever, and so it's a little bit hard to narrow down kind of what are the biggest milestones that are coming up, but I'll tell you a few. The first is we're working toward putting out final guidance for the federal agencies on how they will responsibly use artificial intelligence. This is really how we're leading by example. The federal enterprise is vast. It reaches all kinds of industries. It employs lots of people. It's really important that we use artificial intelligence well, both to harness the opportunities and to make sure that we're managing risks. I'm also tracking and very excited about the new Artificial Intelligence Safety Institute inside the Department of Commerce. This is a new organization, one built to really address this moment, and we're excited to kick that off. And then last, I'll say, this really is a whole government approach. You mentioned the very long executive order. It tasks agencies in every part of the federal enterprise, and really coordinating that effort is what's going to make us successful.
All right, and there's so much already ahead, but I guess it's worth acknowledging the things that have already been put in motion here. You mentioned that AI Safety Institute, and I think the administration recently put out a 90-day checklist of the things that have already been done under the AI executive order. Can you spend a little bit of time going over what has already been accomplished so far?
Well, it's a long list, so I'll just give you some really important highlights. One of the things that we've done is we've kicked off the council sort of organizing the chief AI officers across the federal government. This is a really important place for federal leaders to come together, share best practices, and coordinate their work. Not every federal agency needs to reinvent the wheel. Another really important set of efforts is our work to bring talent into the government. President Biden recognized right away that he's given us an enormous job. We need people to do it with a wide variety of AI and AI enabling skills. Here, I think I'm required to say, these are great jobs. And if you want one of them, you can go to ai.gov/apply. We are trying to remove barriers to make it so people who are out doing this great work and technology in their communities throughout industry can come and bring their skills into the federal government and see this as an opportunity to serve. You mentioned the AI Safety Institute. I think that's a really important effort, and it's a way that we will be working with our multilateral partners. Throughout the executive order, the president's envisioned that we'll work with the globe because this is a global challenge, and those efforts are off to a great start.
All right, thanks for recapping those highlights. You mentioned how OMB is finalizing this guidance for agencies to step up their use of artificial intelligence tools. I know the cases vary by agency, but can you tell me a little bit of how you see AI as a potential game changer for how the federal government meets its mission?
I think this is one of the most exciting areas of policy right now, how we're going to use artificial intelligence to improve how government delivers services to people that make Americans' lives better. The federal government really is this vast enterprise, right? We're an insurance provider, we're a disaster response team, we inspect food and drugs, we monitor financial institutions, we predict the weather. I think AI has the potential to assist the government in all of those missions, as long as we're managing its risk well and making sure that it's safe and trustworthy. Some examples that I really like. Obviously here in DC, we recently went through our little bout of winter weather, National Weather Service using AI to get better at predicting extreme weather. NOAA is working on tracking the health of our environment by doing things like tracking key ice seal populations. They really are an indicator of where we are. We're looking at more safety critical missions, things like predicting the failures of critical air safety equipment so that we can perform proactive maintenance, prevent disruption to air travel, keep Americans going. And I'm really excited about the possibilities for understanding our natural world. This is a way that we can learn more about the world that we live in so we can best figure out how to protect and preserve it, especially in a time of climate change. So I think any federal agency leader that you brought in could tell you an idea that they have for a way that artificial intelligence can help improve their mission. And we're really excited to help get those going.
Yeah. And you mentioned this urgent call to bring in AI experts into the federal government to really accelerate this use of AI across government spaces here. We've seen in recent years the federal government bring in cybersecurity experts, bring IT people in, customer experience people in. What's the kind of call to action, and what's the value proposition that you give these pretty bright, pretty in-demand people to join government service and get started on this work?
I think there's a value proposition for the government and a value proposition for people who might want these jobs. The president's science advisor, our leader, Dr. Arthi Prabhakar, likes to talk about how she spent about half her career in the private sector and about half in the government sector. And it really is a special honor to be able to use those technical skills to do things where you can see that you're going to be making your fellow Americans' lives better. I feel that every day here. And if we can evangelize a little bit about having that opportunity, I think people will see that this is a great place to serve. We need all kinds of skills. We need more data scientists. We need folks with all kinds of computer skills, all kinds of engineering skills. We also need people to do research and development to really study the impact the use of these tools is having on our society, on the way we work. And we need folks who are going to help build the monitoring and evaluation systems that help make sure we are hitting all of our marks when it comes to AI trust and safety.
All right. We've been talking about the opportunities of AI. There are many of those, but let's spend a little bit of time on the challenges side of things. Obviously, this is a fast-moving technology, and there's a lot to make sure it goes right and that there's the right guardrails in place. What under the AI executive order is being done to make sure that these AI tools that are going to be in government are safe and trustworthy? What's going on there under the hood?
Yeah, this is a really important part of the guidance that OMB and others are working on to give federal agencies about how to implement AI well in their operations. They've put that out for public comment. I think they got some great feedback. And the guidance really comes in three parts. So first, we think about governance. Who are the right federal leaders who are high enough in the operation to sort of integrate this kind of risk management with risk management that they're doing all the time? They have a broad range of activities, and that means a broad range of risks, and AI needs to be folded in well, and needs to be led by people with the right kind of experience and purview. Second, we are asking federal agencies to remove barriers to innovation. That can mean things like making sure that we have the right compute resources in order to meet these missions, improving our cybersecurity, taking other steps that sort of get barriers out of the way so that AI can work well. And then finally, agencies will be asked to adopt some risk mitigation practices, particularly where Americans' rights and safety are implicated. We recognize that there are kinds of uses of AI where particular care for rights and safety is needed. So an example that always sticks out to me is, buying a home was certainly one of the most important things I think I did in my young life, and it's very important to many Americans. It often involves getting a mortgage. That process now often includes AI screening of applications. That kind of process, we need to make sure has adequate data, has protections in place to protect bias, against discrimination. We're on the lookout for those kinds of problems. And I think we're asking the federal government and its operations to be attentive to those kinds of things as well.
All right. And just staying on the challenges side of things, obviously, the federal government's adversaries out there are also looking at these AI tools as something they can also take advantage of. So it's obviously, again, challenges and opportunities. What is the White House doing looking there, making sure that it is staying on top of those emerging threats as well?
That's something that I think partners across the government are hard at work on. And it's something that we need new tools to keep our focus on. So, for example, one of the things the AI Safety Institute is developing is measurement and evaluation tools to help deal with threats that emerge from AI and identify them. More broadly speaking, those kinds of threats are global challenges that we want to approach on a multilateral basis. It's important that we work with our partners. That's why it's important that the Vice President, for example, spent time in the United Kingdom at Bletchley Park working on these issues with our partners in the United Kingdom. But I do think that needs to be led by our values as Americans, and we need to stay focused on those values, and that's what President Biden is calling on us to do.
All right. And to bring things full circle, obviously, in that 100+ page executive order, a lot of what the federal government has to do, what agencies have to do, but also it does fall on industry to some degree. They are the folks that are building these AI algorithms and these AI systems. In terms of the partnership there, can you elaborate a little bit more about what they're expected to do to get AI in government off the ground?
President Biden has viewed that partnership as important throughout this process. It's why we brought in 15 American companies to make voluntary commitments about what they would do to ensure AI technology is safe, secure, and trustworthy. Those commitments, I think, are a great start. I think we will continue to work with our partners, people who are government contractors who provide services to the government, to make sure that they're meeting the standards that we've set for ourselves.
All right. Well, this is fast-moving technology, but can you explain a little bit more about what OSTP is doing, specifically as we keep looking at this, fast-moving AI wave? What are you guys keeping an eye on, and what's most exciting to you?
I'm so glad you asked that question. The Office of Science and Technology Policy is this wonderful place inside the White House. We are charged with making sure the president gets the best science and technology advice, coordinating the work of the federal government across many, many agencies on science and technology. And because we have such a broad science and technology mission, every place where artificial intelligence connects with some part of science and technology, I have a colleague down the hall who knows the right stuff. So we have great folks working on things like improving treatment for patients with cancer, and thinking about the ways that artificial intelligence could be helpful there. When I need to ask a question about biological risks, I have actual biologists down the hall that I can speak to. We've got a broad purview, and I think that's appropriate given how broad the executive order is.
All right. Well, Ms. Bonner, thank you so much for taking the time. One last time, I'd like to thank today's guest, Austin Bonner, the Deputy U.S. CTO for Policy at the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. I'm your moderator, Jory Heckman, and you're watching Federal News Network. Now, let me send you back to the studio for more on the AI and data exchange.